Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 119 of Engagement in Peril by Dara, Odoe, Sup. Chapter 119 is titled The Deal Given by and From the Power That Be. The ride toward the base JAG office took minutes. Once there, they were escorted into the JAG department head office and listened to what the military officer in charge had to offer Kushina and her family then. The full bird JAG officer colonel mentioned that the United States Marine Corps would throw the book at Corporal Jackson Bradford, soon to be Private Jackson Bradford, and that he will get at least 20 years in a U.S. military brig. This he promised them, and he also mentioned that he knew that the Japanese didn't want to lose face regarding this matter. He apologized for what had happened to Miss Kushina Shinigami and reassured that the Shinigamis that the U.S. Armed Forces isn't a representation of the action of one stupid Marine. After meeting with the full bird colonel, the Shinigamis were escorted to the base brig and holding area of delinquent and derelict Marines and military personnel to identify Kushina's assailant that night. Still buzzed from the last night's drunk fiasco, Bradford hadn't been told of what he had done that night before. He just told he was thrown into the brig for being drunk out in public and around base and such, like he usually woke up on some weekends. To his surprise, he saw Kushina walking with several of the JAG officers, a Japanese policeman, and a Japanese guy in a suit toward his direction. Now what's this? He thought. He leaned back and sat down on one of the benches in his cell. "Attention!" one of the JAG officers commanded, and Corporal Jackson Bradford jumped to his feet and stood erect at full attention after the Marine captain demanded, "State your name and rank, Marine." Without hesitation, Bradford replied, "Sir, Corporal Jackson Bradford, sir. Hoorah!" "Parade rest, Marine," the lieutenant colonel commanded, with his arm behind his back and his hand clutched together, resting on his lower back waist and his finger apart to relax and at attention still. Bradford listened on. "Miss Kushina and Mr. Shinigami, is this the person that attacked and assaulted you last night?" the higher-ranking Marine officer questioned their guests. The translator spoke in Japanese and asked the same question that had been asked of them in English. With a small whimpering, soft word, still in fear and anguish, Kushina stated, "Hai!" while shaking her head in agreement with the question. Kushina's father was the total opposite. In anger and finger-pointing, he rambled on in Japanese. "That's the bastard that attacked my daughter, Kushina, and took advantage of her poor defenseless body. I found him on top of her and still thrusting his way into her while she was unconscious this early Christmas morning. I witnessed it all, and my fellow officer saw it also. I want justice," he demanded while screaming and pointing his finger in toward Corporal Jackson Bradford in the jail cell. The plain-suited Japanese translator and his refined English speech then translated what both Kushina and her father had stated for the JAG officer. To his surprise, Bradford was in shock of what he had heard. "Attacked and assaulted?" he questioned. Wait a minute. All I know is that I was drunk and I went back to base and I woke up here in this brig. I didn't attack nobody," Bradford stated. "Marine, look at your face. See all that bruises on your face and body, and don't you feel that bruising well all over your body? Don't you see the blood over all your genitalia and trouser? Listen up, Marine. Corporal Jackson Bradford, you are hereby charged with the attack and rape of Miss Kushina Shinigami on December 25th at 0:3400 hour. Your action was witnessed by Officer Shinigami and his fellow local officer." The officer took a second to breathe and continued on. "Your actions and this hideous act upon a young Japanese girl are unbecoming of a Marine in the United States Marine Corps. You have the right to legal counsel and you will be tried and court-martialed for your crime against a person by the United States military justice system. You are charged with abduction, rape, and torture of Miss Kushina Shinigami. It is recommended that you will be given maximum imprisonment time and duties upon these charges. Do you understand these charges and brought upon you? Corporal Jackson Bradford." "Do you understand?" the lieutenant colonel demanded of Bradford. Bradford gravely agreed and stated, "Sir, yes, sir." Without bothering to obey the military code of conduct, Bradford put his hands to cover his bruised face and wept while falling to his knee in disgust of himself. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Kushina. I really like you. I wanted you to know that. I was really drunk. I wasn't myself. I'm so sorry." In dumbfounded terror he rambled on while all his visitor left him to himself in the coal cell then. Once the visitor left the holding area, they were then escorted to the command's commanding officers general. They were then escorted to the command's commanding officer general. Here they were greeted by the three-star general, the base commanding officer. He sincerely apologized to the Shinigami family and promised them that his heinous situation will be dealt with swiftly. He apologized for several more times for terrible action of his inmate, Private Bradford, and like the JAG officer in charge, reassured his guests that this did not represent the true nature of the Marine Corps. He promised them compensation from the U.S. government and public apologies to the entire Okinawa, Japan area as early as this Christmas evening. He promised that if Kushina was impregnated as a result of this rape, that the U.S. government would accept full responsibility for the infant, and the infant will automatically be a U.S. citizen and would have the same right as all U.S. citizens under the Constitution of the United States of America. With some documents signed and copied, the Shinigami were handed the letters and paper for safekeeping. They were then greeted goodbyes and escorted off the command and taken back to their home outside of the command's wall. Much quicker than usual, the Christmas Day evening, a news press was held on the radio and televised by the U.S. Marine Corps. They had accepted full responsibility of apologizing for the action of the unnamed Marine and sincere sympathy and apology were given to the family that this terrible crime was committed upon. They promised that the justice would be handed down swiftly. The U.S. military reassured that the Japanese citizens that the United States and Japan have common goals and common understandings of each other and have a common purpose, and that they would share and combine their forces to help them better the world as a whole, that they are allies in this struggle to rid terror and suffering from the world. They promised to be more diligent and more vigilant in training and more auspicious of military personnel and their actions on and off the base from now on. This they promised the general public and the Japanese local and in central government. With the televised news on the radio and the television addressed directly in the resident of Okinawa, Japan, very few uproar came about from the sinful commotion. Most Japanese residents understood and accepted the words and apology of the United States Marine Corps and calmed down from the early morning fiasco. They went on with their daily lives and went about their business, doing what they usually do and living life like they always have lived. It was returned to the everyday norm and reality for everyone then, by the next day, after the news broadcast and apologies. As for Kushina, she still had pain and insecurity about her and how she went to walk about the street from then on. Her boss at the Tsukuba had given her some time off from work and had visited the family several times, bringing food and house items for the family to show respect and regret for the incident that had happened to one of his staff. Her family is now much more protective of her and her sibling, constantly making sure they were okay and healthy. Unknowing to Kushina at the time, her body was changing, not realizing what she would be having soon. I'm sure Shinshin had wished he could have been there to protect his mother on that dreadful night. He was just the type of person to rescue another one in distress, just like his grandfather. Shinshin had wished that he could travel back in time to save his mother from the horrible abduction and ravage on her innocence then. He often told me during our last months together. It is only now that I promise and wish that I could travel back in time, go back to the night when and where his mother Kushina was snatched by the demonic possessed Corporal Bradford, who took away her young innocence then. I wish I could have stopped him. I wish I could have stopped him from getting his blood-soiled hands on Shinshin's angelic mother then. I'm sure Shinshin would have been different and would have lived a life of happiness and comfort instead of growing up here with horrendous outcome. I so wish I could have protected him and all his dead dealings then. I really miss my beloved Shinshin Nagami. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 119. Be on the lookout for chapter 120, titled Inmate Bradford's Cowardly Way Out. This is Do, Ra, Mi, and I'll see you later. Thank you.